Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of my podcast, Questions My Mom Asked Me About Rome. Today, I have another special guest, Kendall Wilkie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Now, how do I address the individual that I'm speaking with? Because, throughout high school, I just refer to you as the nickname Halo, but do I have to call you formally Jeff, Mr. Jeff, Professor Jeff,
Uh, how about Professor Jeff?
Professor Jeff? Okay, I can do that
Just for today. Just for
just
today.
for today. Well, thanks for having me on board. I know very little about Roman history, but I think it's one of those topics where everybody knows more than they think they do because I'm guessing it's all over the place, the influence of Roman history. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Welcome, welcome. So, do you have any questions say Roman infrastructure?
Okay, yeah. So you asked me a while back, like what topic or question regarding Roman history might be curious to discuss. And kind of tying back to what I already mentioned, how I know so little, but what I'm interested in general in what I do from in my work is infrastructure. I love urban planning. I love everything that has to do with growing a municipality and kind of setting out the general plan and zoning for um, just a community to grow. So, and I recall my dad always joking about, oh, I think it's a Monty Python sketch where
Life of Brian?
someone's asked, what's that?
Life of Brian?
That's it. And in Life of Brian, someone's asking like, "What have the Romans ever done for us?" And they're like, "Oh, well, they did the roads and alphabet." And they lit, this non-exhaustive list of just things that Romans have contributed and other civilizations. But that's what sparked my mind. I'm like, okay, I can tie that humorous anecdote to what I'm actually interested in, being infrastructure. And I turned to even Chat GPT to help me brainstorm some questions. And one that stood out is hopefully one that stood out hopefully relates to what I've always known you've been interested in just the military side, the
Yeah.
military body of the Romans. And I would love to learn and hear your take on how the Romans advanced approach to infrastructure, or in other words, building roads or communication lines or distributing water and resources, how that influenced the outcome of certain, you know, campaigns
Yeah.
and build like contributed to them becoming like a superpower. So that's a huge like encompassing what I want. But yeah, the first question maybe could be what types of technological advances with regards to infrastructure enabled the Romans to be such a superpower on a military scale?
Like one of those is its organization. Like the military is able to go move quickly and fast as possible, and well organized. And one of the things that helped, what we talked about earlier, was the roads too. Because the roads, uh, especially the first one, the Appian Way, that was built during the Samnite War, which allowed reinforcements and also uh, speedy communication from Rome to the south. And as the empire expanded, especially first in Italy, or at least the Republic, and Italy expanded, it built more and more roads. And then as it conquered the rest of Europe, North Africa, Britain, and the Middle East, it built roads. They also a massive military highway too around the borders to allow troops to go either direction they need. And that's where the old saying is, all roads lead to Rome.
So how intricate was their road building? Like if I would come to like a fork in a road on a Roman road, like would there be some type of sign? Do they have a way that they levered maps or directions? Do you know anything in terms of that?
They actually have signs.
Signs like we have today, kind of thing.
Okay, kind of, but it's like pointing going that way. Like they're measuring how much of a distance is from this city to Rome.
Wow, that's fascinating. And how were the what were the measurements like? Because I'm used to driving on the highway and I see a sign and it says, you know, this large city is in 250 miles. If I saw a Roman sign along with an arrow, what kind of instruction or information would it have?
Uh, Probably not that much. It's just be pointing going that way.
Just go that way. We just have to assume that's the right way. Um, Now, were there different eras of like military prowess in Roman history? Like, was one era far more powerful than another?
Some parts like toward the ends of the Republic where you have uh the three Punic Wars with Carthage. Of course the second one nearly didn't go so well for the Romans until the end toward the end. But it's like during the Great Conquest, where they
Gotcha. And do you think any of that could be attributed to like their ability to navigate better?
yeah, their ability to navigate better and their ability to adapt better.
Interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. Like I never even thought about that. Because here, I don't want to spark any or trigger any other conversation about what's going on today, but there are wars going on right now, and there are some, you know, military campaigns that certain countries are enforcing on other countries. And it's funny to even read a headline and say that a particular group is inhibited from progressing because a bridge is blown out. And
Yeah,
how, something as simple as a bridge can really hamper your goal.
like
And it's an obvious thing to think about, but um, I never really thought of how important infrastructure is and the role that it plays in enabling or empowering another group to take over another.
yeah,
So
there's uh on the in the column in Rome Trajan's column, talking about the wars in what's now Romania. There's an actual bridge that they built to go over the Danube River over into Dacia to fight. Then that's when they get then later on after the Romans had a withdrawal from over there in the later in the third century, they destroyed that bridge to keep
so
people.
wait, so they built a bridge
Yes,
over the Danube
yes,
for the purpose of engaging in warfare.
yes.
How long would it take a Roman platoon to put that together? Because and actually, like, what's the start? Like, where do they start here? Do they have like an engineer back in Rome that's like, oh yeah, hey, here are the plans. Tell
Yeah,
me how wide the river is, and I'll tell you how many stones you need to get, and this is what you do. Like, is that kind of
yeah.
how intricate that's
They had engineers and also that's the other part of the Roman legions that that they also trained that you kind of have engineering skills too.
got it. I can understand the boots on the ground, receiving the training and the instruction, be like, okay, Danube River, we've got the plans, let's do it. Now with these engineers though, what I don't understand is where they came from. Like, I'm not familiar with like the education system at that time. Like, were it just were they just these bright-minded individuals that, since they were kids, they were gifted with building stuff, and eventually the government was like, you are going to be our engineer to help build bridges? Or was there some type of formal school system that would enable a layperson like me to enroll, if I had enough money, maybe, to become an engineer? Was it
Yep.
just gifted individuals, or was it also individuals that, could elect to become an engineer?
Uh, they were more. It could be gifted, but they're also trained too.
By whom? Who trained them?
Other engineers.
And they where did they come from? This is the chicken and the egg. This is what I want to get to. Where did these engineers, who was the first Roman engineer? Where did this person come from?
Well, that's a good question because I don't know either. Like, because
But
there's
it
like,
is fascinating, that it came from somewhere and eventually built into a system. Like that's the wild thing. Not only is it wild that there was this egg that was born, like of, engineering prowess, but then also it turned into like a system where, I guess what you're saying is, people could be trained on how to build stuff, and that
yeah,
they could pass that on to individuals who don't care, like, at all, but they'll just follow the plans, the Lego set,
yep,
and build it across the Danube so that they can, um, siege
yeah.
and destroy. It's amazing.
Oh yeah. Like for like for us, art construction could take what, years?
Yeah, and here we have a system that, oh, delays at all costs, because most of them are going to be publicly funded projects. So it goes through a very long public notice and comment procedure that, takes forever.
Yep.
And I'm guessing that they didn't did they have that type of process in place? Like, did you have to seek approval from this department and then have an open meeting and then have the public comment on it, and then you
Um,
had to adjust your rulemaking? They didn't have any of that. It was just more,
we're building that.
gotcha. So
Like
what would be the name of the government during most of the Roman history period? Was it like authoritarian dictatorship?
as like that would be later on after the third century military crisis,
How
but
about Danube River time bridge?
that would be during the Principate era.
And what
Like
form of government would that be?
that'll still be aristocracy, autocratic, but mixed with the veneer of republic.
Okay. So at least you have a central power that can just make the decisions,
Yes.
regardless of what probably the Republic has to say about it.
Yeah, because
The
this basically after the last of the civil wars, uh, after Octavian wins, the Roman Senate didn't exactly have the amount of power it used to have.
Gotcha. Wow. So roads, bridges, and I'm familiar with aqueducts. And I went to the Roman baths in the Cotswolds in Bath, and I get they've got, and even like the saunas and all that stuff, they can build stuff. Oh,
So
hey, there's the coin right there.
yep.
What's on this for the listeners? When I was in Bath, I grabbed a commemoration coin of that site, the Roman baths, and sent it to my friend, Professor Jeff. Um, what else am I missing? What other forms of infrastructure or technological advances relating to that urban planning
Well,
sphere uh, can we credit the Romans with?
one of them is the organization of our cities. Like if you notice, we have like the four, which is like our government center, then straight line, then somewhere else. Like it's like kind of in a grid.
Okay. Um, so I guess I haven't even thought about that. Yeah, more it just seems like efficiency's sake. But were there other forms of government that were like spread out? Like you'd have like the actually even I think about it, even go visiting yeah, so let me back up. I was kind of confused how like some of the government seats and houses
Yeah.
in London were just kind of spread apart. When you go to Washington, D.C., everything is on the mall. Like everything is close by. You don't have to walk too far. You don't have to walk or carriage from uh Washington, D.C. to New York City to pass a bill. You just have to walk up the hill.
Yep.
And that kind of efficient system we can credit to Rome, is what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
Wow. What about
They-
the Greeks? Did the Greeks do that too? Who copied? If so, did one copy the other?
Probably because the Romans also copied their gods too. But
Oh, gotcha. Oh, I didn't know that. So
yeah.
Greek gods came first?
Yep.
Wow.
Then the Romans took him and made them into their gods, where you have Zeus, Jupiter, uh, Ares, Mars.
Wow. That's cool. So the system, just the X and Y axis point
Hmm.
of a government seat,
Yep.
the physical manifestation of having the Capitol Hill next to the White House, next to the this and that and everything else relating to government that we can credit to the Romans.
Hmm.
Today I learned.
And also you can look at the same at the legionary camps, because in the middle you have the where the officers live, then you have the soldiers. But on each side you have also a line of roads leading out to say if someone is attacking, the legionaries could get completely organized and march out from either side.
Hmm. Oh, so yeah, just it's all about efficiency.
Yep.
Geesh. Okay, anything else relating to infrastructure that popped in your mind when I posed some of the questions?
Um, let, uh, let me have a look here.
Oh, no worries. I'm just riffing. I was riffing.
Right, there's one where you're talking. You want to talk about how the decline of the Roman Empire affected its infrastructure.
Say more.
Okay, so I mentioned the third century military crisis. You should read the books
Yep.
on that. There's good stuff. But after the crisis where the economy of the empire was in shambles and stuff, so in order to completely restore everything that was dis- shattered in the crisis, that the Emperor Diocletian had to completely take all the resources for the state that was for everything else and turned it toward the military. Because in order to refix everything, uh, he kind of he had to enlarge the army, build up the infrastructure, and military factories, but
Huh.
at the cost of high taxes.
Gotcha.
And then later on, as the afterwards, the East managed, of course, managed to stay in existence for other millennia, but in the West, a lot of the money that would have gone toward the military, the senators and the provinces, and of course Rome itself, was refusing to pay money for its defenses.
So basically lost a return. So invested in the military,
Yep,
campaigns didn't go as planned. You lose your return on investment. And so
yep,
then as a result, you're in debt. And so then you have to turn on high taxes
yep,
to kind of
yep,
save yourself.
yep. And the other thing is that And they were all doing this when the population of the empire was in decline too. You had a shrinking tax base because you have
Interesting.
more people you have in the army, less people you have working on other things.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's no different from today, really. Um, that if money is pulled away from one pool, then it affects all others. Interesting. Hmm.
Yep. And that made it hard, and that later on made it harder for the empire to defend itself because they got it. You lose more troops. You lose the if you lose more troops, you lose the ability to reconstitute the destroyed army.
Right. So it just becomes a slippery slope from there. And,
Yep.
it's a illustration of the myth of trickle down economics. Uh, yeah, just one domino
Yep.
falls on another.
In other
Well,
words,
hey, those are my questions that I had today. And remind me, I don't want to surpass any time limit that we've got here. Um,
truthfully,
but
I was not paying attention at all. I just had at the time I was just having fun. Just
oh, you're good. No, time flies when you're having fun. Um, but yeah, learned quite a bit, and I I want to deep dive a little bit more into Rome's influence. So now everyone who's listening, you should just know that every sidewalk and road. Wait, hold up. Speaking of sidewalks, do they have sidewalks there?
mhm.
Or, well, there you go.
And also in Pompeii too.
There you go. So for all of Professor Jeff's listeners, if you're driving on a road, if you are walking on a sidewalk and you're lost, but you see a sign and it points to the government central of the courthouse of town hall, and then you know where you're at. Everything that just happened right there on that navigation path,
Yep.
you can thank the Romans. That's what they did for us.
Thank you, Life of Brian.
Yep.
We
Well,
should end
thank
this.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you be on here, Kendall.
Hey, I appreciate it. I look forward to maybe popping on again for another episode.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining in this episode of questions my mom asked me about Rome. And hope everyone enjoys this fun episode.
Thank you, and thanks, Mom, for asking those questions.